Hey everybody, BC here with our first VR Office product review. Since there's already no shortage of reviews online for VR peripherals, from covers and head straps to putter accessories and weapons, I wanted to come at product reviews from an angle of productivity. I'll focus the first few reviews on the tools that I use to build my VR kit, which will hopefully help any aspiring metaverse workers to get comfortable in their own VR offices. These accessories, of course, also work nicely for VR games, but we'll try not to deviate from the office uses. The first product up is the face cover with fan. When I was pondering setting up a VR office, I knew that heat in the headset was going to be an issue. I have always used the 1 hour rule, meaning for every 1 hour in VR, you should do 1 hour outside VR. From my experience, after an hour, your face is hot and your neck starts to ache. If I was going to spend significant time in VR, I knew I needed a better setup. The first thing I went looking for was a way to cool my head while in VR. There are lots of options out there to choose from, but I settled on this particular face cover as it was well reviewed by lots of reviewers. While a little pricier than some models, it wasn't outrageous. I've already sung the praises of this face cover in my daily posts, but in order to really review the product, I wanted to use the other stock options and see how things lined up. I used 3 face covers this past week. The stock foam cover that comes with the Meta Quest 2 out of the box. The stock cover with silicone cover, which is now provided with the Meta Quest 2 after many people had skin irritations from the original foam cover. And then the face cover with fan. So let's break down my experience with each cover. When I swapped to the original face cover with foam, I was expecting a bad experience. But that was mostly because when I've used the foam cover in the past, I was doing VR games, which result in a lot of sweat. How do I put this nicely? The foam soaks that stuff up, and it is not pretty after 30 minutes of Beat Saber or Ragnarok. The first surprise this week was that since working in VR isn't quite as exhausting as VR gaming, I did not sweat. So I did not have the same issue of a soaked foam cover. So that was good. I did find that the foam against my face was uncomfortable though. I also noticed that there was a bit of haze in the headset after a while, which made it hard to read my virtual monitors. I didn't have issues with fogging up the lenses, which I'm sure would be the case in VR gaming, but the lenses just weren't quite as clear. The foam cover is my least favorite of the 3 options. The next cover added the silicone cover. When VR gaming, this cover is a mixed bag. The silicone prevents the sweat issue with the foam, but also doesn't give the sweat a place to go. So it's still kind of gross after 30 minutes of intense VR gaming. But just like the foam cover, since I didn't sweat in the office, I didn't have those issues. I like the feel of the silicone on my skin more than the foam, so this was my second favorite out of the 3. The haze was still an issue, but it was definitely more comfortable. The last cover I used was the face cover with fan. I had 2 major concerns when I bought this accessory. The first was that it would be loud, because it's a fan sitting on your forehead. This turned out not to be the case. My second concern was that it would dry out my eyes after prolonged usage, but again, my worries were unfounded. In my experience, it's more about cooling the inside of the headset than actively trying to keep the skin sweat-free. I haven't used the fan cover while doing VR gaming, but I'm pretty certain sweat would still be an issue. Simply put, when using the face cover with fan, your face is comfortable. I've turned the fan off and felt the heat return to the inside of the headset, and it is very noticeable. I've actually ruined VR for a couple friends by having them try the fan, and now they have to go buy fans for their own quests. The design of the face cover also gives a wider circumference, which means less pressure around the eyes, which again just feels more comfortable. This is my favorite face cover of the 3. That wasn't a surprise, but it's good to know why I feel that way. The fan accessory definitely makes longer sessions in VR more enjoyable. I think you could do longer sessions without it, but you're putting up with some discomfort that is unnecessary. One closing note is that the fan does have a short battery life of 2 hours. As I jump in and out of VR, I charge the cover via the USB-C cable. If I'm doing a really long session, I have plugged the headset in while wearing it, but that is a last resort because it just feels very strange. I hope you found this review of the VR face cover with fan to be helpful. As I continue with the VR Office experiment in the coming weeks, I'll continue to highlight the tools that make longer use cases possible. The power of VR, once you are in the headset, is easier to see. But it's harder to see if your head hurts, your eyes are blurry, and there's an ache in your neck. There are tools to solve these problems, and we'll keep exploring them together. Till tomorrow. You can't do it this... Oh, can you? Oh, the world has changed. We can twiddle our thumbs in here. Yeah. You can't cross your fingers, though, no matter how hard you try. I know. It irritates people. But you can twiddle your thumbs, and I'm going to blow everybody's minds on Monday.